March Gladness. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that right from down here? You guys good with that? It's so good to hear. Yes, it's our third year here. I want to welcome our elder King Johnson. He's from River City over here. I think he's here all 3 years. Yeah, all right. So glad to have him here. Appreciate the kind introduction you gave me, Dr. Dodd. So used to both of us having a doctor in front of our name. I think you're the only one who calls me Doctor, though. Because, I forget that that's what I am. So I'm here. I want to say a word about your pastor too. The older I get, I love good preaching. Of course, good preaching is good. Your pastor's a good preacher. I like being around good thinkers. Good thinking's good. He's a good thinker. He's an accomplished academic. These things are all true. It's not really what impresses me most anymore. It's not what I look for in a pastor. I have seen over and over that you can be really gifted and not be anointed. That you can be really smart and have poor character. That you can be impressive from up front, but when you get close to them, there's a lack of integrity. And I will pick high integrity over high oratorical skills every time. I will pick deep character over superficial skills every single time. I will trust the person who is who they are when nobody's looking as much as they are. And so that's more than any reason why Dr. Chris is my friend. He's a man of integrity. He's a man of high character. He loves you. He loves his place. He loves the Lord. He is who he is in every circle that he's in. And I wish that wasn't so uncommon for pastors. But there's too few who can really trust you there. So I honor the good work that you're doing here. I'm thankful for this body. I'm thankful for every chance to be with you all. It's always a privilege. So thank you. We're going to go heavy in. So if you got your Bibles or these electronic devices, if not that, we're going to bounce around a little bit. I know you guys love the Word here, and I love the Word too. I understand the theme, not only of March Gladness, but of your whole ministry here this year is fit to fight. Right, huh? And holistically so, fit to fight spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially. Trying to do it on every front, huh? I like that. I think that honors Jesus. So I would have been happy to flex to whatever you were talking about, but it just so happens you're talking about something I'm thinking about a lot too. So I'm ready to jump in here with you, and I want to go to an uncomfortable place on this, but one that I think is important. When we're talking about fighting, we have to acknowledge that there's somebody we're fighting against. Right? When we're talking about joining on the side of God, it means we're against the force of darkness. Even in this church, I imagine some of you have different backgrounds and different church experiences, so everybody's got a little bit of a different take on this in terms of how much you grip around it. But where I want to kind of start us tonight, and really spend a lot of our focus, is when we talk about something being fit to fight, I think we got to go all the way back to the beginning. I think we're going to start all the way in the Garden of Eden to realize that there's a fight that's been happening long before you and I ever jumped into the fight. There's a fight that's much bigger than us. There's a fight that is the premier fight in our universe, in our world, in our created order, between God and Satan, between good and evil, between light and dark. And this fight is what really sets the backdrop for the fight we participate in. And I would say that it's really important to think through this in all the different channels and to have specific thoughts. But there's a foundation in terms of understanding God's fight, understanding the fight that we were born into, that I think really positions us to be able to be fit to fight. And so I'm going to say some things that may be familiar. I'm going to say some things that challenge some of the traditional assumptions we have on things. I will start all the way in the beginning, in the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and 2. The first idea I'd like to propose is that there has been a fight between good and evil since the very beginning of time. Even starting in the Garden of Eden. And now, the more traditional kind of ways as a church would talk about this would be that the Garden of Eden was something close to perfection. When God created Eden, it was perfect. Everything worked perfectly as it was supposed to. And then, of course, Adam and Eve sinned at some point, right? And their sin somehow releases all these things into the world, right? That's kind of generally how this gets told, right? I'm not sure I see it that way anymore. I think that by the time Adam and Eve sinned, we can already see that a big fight was happening, even in the Garden of Eden. even before Adam and Eve ever did anything wrong, I think we can see the makings of a fight that were happening in a pretty significant way. So let's open to Genesis chapter 2. Let's start here. I've got some thoughts on Genesis 1 too, but I'd probably get too close to heresy, so we'll save those for small group discussions. I'm just joking, but I do want to dive in on chapter 2. Let's go to verses 15 and 16. I'm going to be bouncing around. Should we stand for the first one, or should we just go ahead? Let's stand for just the first one. And you know where the tradition of standing for Scripture comes from? Anybody know? Anybody know which part of the Bible that comes from? Trivia question. Anybody want to show off? What book do they stand for the reading of the Scripture in? Wait, what? It's close. It's in the same Nehemiah, Ezra. It's in that area. Yeah, right. So Nehemiah was the community developer, basically, right? The politician. Ezra was the preacher. And so when Ezra would preach, the people would stand and honor the Word of God. So it's not actually a modern invention. It goes all the way back to the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. It's a nice work. So we'll do just verses 15 and 16, and then we'll bounce around from there. Verse 15, I am reading from the ESV today. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. Amen. Well, then a sobering point. We'll stop there. You can go ahead and be seated. So, as I kind of came back to the book of Genesis, we since the new year, I've been doing a series called Origins in River City, and we're just doing the early chapters of Genesis, which kind of tells the origin story of the human experience of the created order. This is just a very straightforward thing, but it jumped out to me in a way I never really had noticed before. We know of this tree, right? You hear of this even in Sunday school, this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And we jump right to the point that this is what Adam and Eve are not supposed to eat of. But it just dawned on me that if there was a knowledge of good and evil in the initial created order, then evil didn't come in with Adam and Eve, did it? Right? They may have given in to something, they may have sinned, they may have introduced something on the human side of things. They certainly didn't introduce evil, did they? Clearly, God is looking over the battle between good and evil from the very beginning. I think lots can be said about this, but we get the sense that even and I keep finding myself, one of the things I keep catching myself, one of our associate pastors, Brandon preached last week, one of the things he noted that I've never noted, is that we often use the word perfect when we describe the Garden of Eden, but it never actually uses the word perfect in the Bible. It never says anything was perfect in the Garden of Eden. It does use a word a lot of times. It's close but different. Good. It says everything was good. God created things to be good in the Garden of Eden. His creation was good, vegetation was good, the animals were good, and most good of all was what? Humankind, that God created in God's image, male and female, He created them. That's the apex of goodness, which, sorry, forgive my ADD as I bounce around a little bit, but I feel like on a Wednesday night we can do this a little bit more than I have to be all polished on a Sunday. Another important thing about the goodness of the created order, a lot of times we start our theology in Genesis chapter 3. We start our theology with the fall of Adam and Eve, and this shapes the way we think of how God views us. We think that God sees us as sinners, as failures, as people who have fallen short of what God intended. That's where we start, typically, the way we talk about the human experience. That is not where the Bible starts. The Bible starts in Genesis 1. I said we were going to go to 1. Let's go to 1 just because this verse is just too important not to have as the cornerstone for really everything that we do. Verse 27, chapter 1. So God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created them. Male and female He created them. And then verse 31, the last verse of that chapter. And God saw everything He made, and behold, it was what? Good. Not just good, but what? Very good. This is where the human story starts. Not with sin, not with fallenness, not with shortcomings, not with how we should have done more. This is the foundation of where the human experience starts. God looked at you, and God looked at me and said, it's good. You were created in my image, and you're good. We're not bad people trying to be fixed. We're good people trying to be restored. Now, we make mistakes. We got enough devils inside of each one of us to, there's plenty to worry, but that's not the starting point. things. God's not in the business of trying to take bad people, make them good. God's in the business of taking good people and trying to restore them to goodness. That's important, isn't it? It's important. It shapes how you view God if you think God sees you as bad. It really shapes how you view God. A.W. Tozer used to say the most important thing I can know about you is what it is that you believe about God. There's nothing more important. There's nothing that will shape your day-to-day life more than what you believe to be true about God. I don't mean what Pastor Chris says on Sundays about God. I don't mean what you even memorize. What you believe is true about God will shape your life more than anything. And if you think God looks at you as disappointed, that shapes so much of your life. If you think God looks at you and sees something bad that needs to be fixed, that will shape how you think of God. But if you take God in God's word, and you believe that God made you in God's image, and God said you're good, you're very good, that's always the work of the Spirit, is to reclaim that which was originally good. I'm not reading into anything here, am I? Right, that's where this story opens up. Yeah. As God says, humankind was created in God's image, and it was good. It was good. All right, so that's where we open it up. So now coming back to 2:15, 16, 17 again. So as God is instructing Adam and Eve how to live in this good garden, and I think Pastor Brandon is right that calling it good, not perfect, is actually an important distinction, because if something's perfect, you can't ever hit it again. Right? Once something's imperfect, it can't be perfect again. But if something's good, and it becomes kind of bad, it can become good again. Right? I think the Garden of Eden is not meant to be this utopian thing we remember fondly of. I think the Garden of Eden is supposed to show us how the world's supposed to look. It's a picture of goodness. It's what we're always moving back to. When Jesus comes back, it will look like the goodness that was in the early chapters of Genesis. When Jesus says, pray that thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, it's not this, we're supposed to look here. It's goodness. It's God's goodness coming on earth as it is in heaven. So God tells Adam and Eve how to live in this good place. And so now, in verse 17, tree of knowledge of good and evil. So clearly part of how God is organizing this is being mindful of the fact that there's good and evil. That verse then helps us look at 15 in a new way. I think it's so unfortunate how all these translations translate this, because it just doesn't get the full weight of it. So let me just read here. I think it'll sound very similar here. The Lord God took the man, put him in the garden to work it. And in ESV it says keep it. Does anybody else have a different translation? Keep it. You got to take care of it. Anybody else say anything different? Keep it. Take care of it. Is that most of yours where it says? It's not that that's wrong. It just doesn't get to the heart. So the Hebrew word is shamar. Say shamar with me if you will. Shamar. It's used a lot. It's almost always translated differently than this. The most common translation of the word shamar is either to guard, say to guard, or to protect. All right, let me show you how it's more typically used. Go to chapter 3. We're going to come back in a minute, so keep your finger on there. We'll come to chapter 3, very last verse. Because after Adam and Eve sinned, I'm not even trying to teach on this part. I just want to show you another place the word is used. Exact same word, shamar. After Eden was kind of tainted by sin, God drives out Adam and Eve. So verse 24, it says, he drove out the man. At the east of the Garden of Eden, he placed a cherubim. Now imagine a cherubim with a flaming sword that turned every way. And it's, what does it say in your Bible? What does it say? Every way to what? Guard. That's what mine says is guard. Does anybody else say something different? Mine says guard. To what? Okay, to keep away, or to guard the way to the tree of life. The exact same word, shamar. Now just kind of keep flipping back and forth between 2:15 and 3:24. Why is it? Translators, they're trying to do the best they can to communicate in English, but isn't it interesting that in 2:15 they translated to keep it? So to work it can be translated to work or serve. I actually prefer serve, but to work it's fine. It's the keep it one that I'm really trying to get to. To work and keep it. So in 2:15 they translated keep it. The exact same word, no different tense, no nothing. It's the exact same word in 3:24 to guard. Now do those sound a little bit different? If you imagine one side keeping a garden, and another side an angel with a sword guarding to make sure nothing ever comes back in, those kind of sound really different, don't they? Kind of weird, it's the exact same word, right? And so if you flip-flop it either way, it really changes the way we feel it, right? If you take the keep and put it for the angels, and if it says the angels are keeping the garden, probably doesn't get, that's certainly not communicating the same thing, that we're, but now flip the other way. If you use the exact same translation, which it usually is, guard and protect, if it says Adam and Eve were told to guard the garden, to protect the garden. In the same way that those angels are protecting it at the end of chapter 3. That sounds a whole lot different, right? And if it is that, then it's really easy to make a case that it could, at least could be, and not should be. If it is that that's what God is telling them to guard, to protect it the same way those angels are, then it leads to an obvious question, right? Guarded from, protected from. Now think about this, right? No, Adam and Eve haven't sinned yet. This is early chapter 2 stuff, right? We're going to be at the middle to end of chapter 3 before Adam and Eve sinned. Adam and Eve haven't sinned yet. Serpent hasn't showed up yet. We think of this perfect, good place where everybody's singing hallelujah some time, and then Adam and Eve somehow screw everything up, right? I don't think that's an accurate way to view it. I think even from the very beginning, God knew that place was at war. It was under siege. There were forces to be contended with from the moment God's good word was spoken into this world. It's daunting, it's a little bit scary, but I think it's the real picture that from the moment God breathed God's good word into this world, it was under attack from the evil one. And part of the fundamental mission of Adam and Eve, before they ever sinned, in the goodness of God's original creation, part of the fundamental mission of Adam and Eve was to guard God's good place. To guard God's good creation. To guard God's good way of life. I really believe this now. I believe that was the assumption of Adam and Eve. Even if they didn't understand it all. Just like we don't understand it all. They didn't need to understand it all. But there was an assumption that at some level that place was under siege. It was under attack. Which, if you look at it from that way, chapter 3 makes a whole lot more sense than it does in the traditional interpretation. Because in the traditional, everything's good, everything's perfect, the word we tend to use. Then suddenly the serpent comes. Where the heck did the serpent come from, right? Now this would be, I'm not going to be able to answer you for you definitively. The church fathers and mothers have been wrestling over this one. Where did the origination of people come from? I won't even try to answer that. But clearly, in an environment where Adam and Eve have not yet done anything wrong, you can see my bias here. I don't think there's any way we can put this on Adam and Eve. This fight is much bigger than Adam and Eve. It predated Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are doing their thing in God's good garden, and here comes evil. Here comes evil into the garden, tempting, calling into question God's goodness, tempting them to play God. Of course, they're totally culpable for giving into it and sinning. I'm not at all minimizing the sin of that. I'm just trying to say a battle's already happening. And so their actions matter, there's no question, but their actions sat upon the foundation of a larger battle. God and Satan were already at war. And later in chapter 3, I don't just the time's sake, I don't think we'll cover this. Later in chapter 3 talks about how Jesus Christ will ultimately stomp on the head of the serpent, right? But just to kind of show the darkness that was closing in, let's just a little bit in chapter 4. Let's flip over to chapter 4. You know, this is the story of Cain and Abel. God again warns of the seriousness of this kind of evil that's there. And, boy, you guys are caring about reconciliation and justice, and so that you do your holistic. When you're in reconciliation and justice conversations, there's always going to be this tension between individual choice and then the systems of evil, right? And it's naive to pick one or the other. If you talk only about systems, it totally lets people off the hook from making good choices. If you talk only about good choices, you end up kind of far right-wing ideology that doesn't acknowledge the dark powers of systems, right? Genesis 3, Genesis 4 gets to this. Look in chapter 4. Look at the balance between kind of the recognition of forces larger, but then also the importance of individual choices. So verses 1 through 5, we get the kind of description of Cain and Abel. One of the important, commentary notes, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out who had the better offering and why. Most commentators say that's absolutely completely not the point. They each gave an offering that was according to their work. That was not the point. The point is that something's happening inside of Cain, and a personal God who loves Cain is going to confront it in a loving way. So look at what Cain says, what God says to Cain in verse 6. Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? Now, let's listen to these words in verse 7. And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at your door. It's lurking at your door. And if that's not scary enough, it desires to have you. Some evil out there. There's something dark out there. And it's so balanced the way God says this because, and again, it shows some advice. The way I've heard this, it's kind of this inner thing, like Cain needs to be aware of his own internal sin, which I think is clearly part of it. But the way God describes it, this is the exact same word that's used of predators in the wild. You know, when you watch one of these National Geographic specials, you're watching the lion lurk up on the gazelle, crouch down. And that's not an internal sin problem we're facing, right? Isn't it Peter who says that's the lion, the devil's like a lion prowling around looking to devour? Is that 1 Peter 6, if I remember correctly? Very similar imagery to Genesis chapter 4. There's something out there. There's an evil that's out there. But then look at the really wonderful balance of how God says it. So, I mean, it's an absolutely terrifying image. And there's no question it's terrifying. But what does God say? It's desirous for you, but you must rule over it. Yeah. You must master it. I love that God doesn't just say you can master it. That would be inspiring enough. It'd be inspiring enough to say, this thing's scary, but it's beatable. If you're smart, you can do it. That would be inspiring enough, actually, really would. It's like, thank God the story's not over already. But he didn't say it's theoretically possible. He says you must. You must. This stuff doesn't work if you let that predator win. Yeah. It doesn't work. You've got to make it. You've got to rule over it. You've got to master it. Go a little bit further than that, and then we'll come back and think through some of the application of this. A couple other things I just want to point out. Let Dr. Dodd figure out how to put it all back together again, because I'm not sure it's even cohesive. But let's go up to verse 9. I just want to point out this wording. So then the Lord said, this is, of course, it's a tragic story. Cain does not listen to God's intervention. Cain kills Abel. God asks Cain, where is Abel, your brother? Clearly God knows where Abel is, but he's drawing Cain out. He's still trying to graciously pull him out of his sin. Cain says, I do not know. Am I my what? Interesting thing. That word, brother's keeper. Anybody want to guess what Hebrew word that is? Shamar. Exact same word. Again, first 3 times that this is in the Bible. Genesis 2:15, when God says, I want you to shamar the garden. I want you to guard and protect the garden. Chapter 3, when God tells the cherubim with the sword, I want you to guard, protect this garden. And in chapter 4, the failure of Cain is that he did not protect or guard his brother. That's his ultimate failure. God called on him. And so when Cain, it just really shows how far Cain's fallen, because God's still, the story's still not over for Cain. As terrible as what it is, God's still trying to draw him up. There's still repentance to be had. But Cain spitefully says, what, am I my brother's protector? Am I my brother's guardian? And the answer is absolutely yes, right? But Cain is so filled with just kind of darkness by this point that it shows that he's not confused. He actually mocks in a certain way the very thing God was telling him to do. Fascinating, right? And then just in terms of going back to this original premise that evil was there from the very beginning, that there's kind of this attack from early on. When we watch what happens coming out of that story, God's talking about now the curse that is there from the brother's blood. Verse 12, verse 12, to be a fugitive and wander the earth. Look, it's just interesting what Cain says. Commentators really struggle to understand what else is going on here. I think if you think of this original evil, it makes more sense. Verse 13, Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I bear. Behold, you have driven me today from the ground. From your face I shall be hidden. I'll be a fugitive and wanderer. And then what an interesting thing. He says, whoever finds me will kill me. Now, I don't want to screw up every Sunday school thing you ever learned, but is this a little bit weird that there should only probably be 4 of them or so, right? You have Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, maybe a couple of their siblings that we don't know about. Who exactly is he talking about when he says, if you cast me out of this place, I'm going to get killed? Somebody's out there, right? Now there's kind of 2 ways you can go with that. One is the kind of scarier, more liberal sounding one, which is that Adam and Eve weren't the only people created by God, that there were other people, and the Garden of Eden was its own special place, but there was an evil out there. The other, kind of more traditional interpretation is that somehow Cain and Abel were old enough that other family members had kind of moved on out from Eden and was kind of fractions of the same family. For purpose of working with tonight, I don't think it matters which way you go. I think what matters is showing that from the very beginning we see, there's just a darkness out there from the very beginning. There's a threat, there's a violence, there's a opposite of being a brother's protector and guardian. There's the reverse, there's an assault on humanity, there's an assault on brothers and sisters, there's an assault on family. Just evil. It's all there. There's some evil. Now, we don't do this to spook us out. In fact, one of the things that I think is so balanced about the way Genesis does it, and it really becomes a great time when we do this whole thing, some of these New Testament passages, what's really cool, it doesn't seem like the right word at the moment, but what's just intriguing about it is simultaneously God makes it sound way scarier than most of us want to give it credit for, and gives us more hope than I think we actually really tend to walk around with. Right? So God just doesn't seem to hide the fact that this is a world under siege. There's very much a real power of darkness who's at work in this world. And I just want to poke, sometimes I think we go just a little farther than we should. Now, I believe God is sovereign, no question. I believe God is Lord, Jesus is King, all that, no question whatsoever. But we can say those things in a way that actually minimizes how real the work of the devil is in this world. We can say those things in a way that minimizes the fact that Jesus himself wouldn't deny the fact that, yes, I've come to bring life, and life in its fullness, life in abundance, but what? There's a thief that's steal, kill, and destroy. I mean, these are not words that are used to kind of, you don't walk away from that going, oh, well, maybe he meant that. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward saying, right? And every movement of Christ, we must trust that he wants abundance for us, and that at that very moment, evil is active. Trying to steal, trying to destroy, trying to kill. It's just always happening. And it kind of changes the way you think of something like the Lord's Prayer, right? Jesus tells us to pray this every day, right? Let's say together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And it's actually even more accurate translate from the evil one. Now, inasmuch, I love every part of the prayer. Inasmuch, I mean, how many of you say, we need every day to pray, give us this day our daily bread? I mean, there's something fundamentally daily about that, right? Where we learn to rely on the one who is provision. And to not rely on our own strength and our own mights. It's only on God. Every day I need to pray that, right? And every day I need to pray, Lord, deliver me from the evil one. In the sense that I can be delivered. That's the hope of it. In the expectation that I will be delivered. But here's so much, let me just kind of boil down here. So much of the rules of battle, to be battle ready, it sounds so simple, but we skip over this step. So much of what God wants from us to be battle ready is just to be aware. To just be awake. Right? We find ways to not stay to the very true core of the battle that God himself told us about. Right? You're born into this place in a huge war that started way before you and actually way past you. And at some point will come to a culmination. Jesus Christ will come and permanently slay evil and put Satan and his legions into a dungeon and reclaim, we don't go up there, he comes down here, right? It's Jesus returns to the new heavens and the new earth, restores this place, pulls it away from the grip of evil. That is something we can look forward to that informs everything we do. But here and now, the battle's real. It's real in your life. It's real in the life of your families, isn't it right? It's real in the life of this church. Now, of course, we can overdo it like we do overdo everything. Like every time I can't put a cigarette down, I blame it on the devil. Right? It's there's ways to use it. There always is. And in doing so, I would warn us not to miss the fact that when you guys are talking about being fit to fight, yes, please be fit to fight because this place has been under siege since the very beginning. And if we come back to Genesis 2:15, I hope you'll always look at this verse differently as I now do. If you think of it as that we're supposed to be awake to the battle, awake to the power of the evil one, but more awake to the power of the King of Kings, the Lion of Judah, I mean, consider again what he says. If we take the guard and protect Abel, in verse 15, the Lord God took the man, put him in the Garden of Eden to serve it and to protect it, to guard it. Right? We're not just fighting for our own selves in this, though that's part of it. We're fighting for God's good. The church, that's the church's job. We fight against evil. We contend for people's souls. We contend for people's lives. lives. We fight poverty, we fight racism, we fight sexism.
Yeah.
Not because it's some liberal social agenda, because it's the gospel. It's
Yeah.
Genesis 2.
Yeah.
It's the very original mission that we were given, is to protect and to serve. And to every step of the way, again, we always have to keep balance, because to not talk about the societal ills, I think, is short-sighted, but to not talk about our own personal demons is short-sighted. So we got to remember, we all have a Cain side to us, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not murder that God's confronting Cain, right? It's jealousy of his brother Abel. It's envy. Right? It's anger. None of us would say anger is a virtue to have, but we wouldn't say that's a predator crouching at the door, would we? We wouldn't say my unresolved anger and bitterness is a lion lurking outside the door, would we? And that's exactly what God says to Cain. It's hiding, it's making itself look small, but trust me, it is crouching, lurking, and waiting. Now, if you know a predator's there, you've got a chance to escape, but if you ignore the predator, that story ends on National Geographic every time, right? So when we become awake, when we become aware, when we acknowledge the reality that we're in, we're poised to be led by the Spirit. We trust that God's intervening even in our own lives, saying, you don't have to give into that story. Anger doesn't have to be the final word.
Right.
Jealousy doesn't have to be the final word.
Yeah.
Envy doesn't need to be what drives you. You don't need to prove a point to anybody. You don't got to find a sense of meaning through him or through her. You don't got to do that. You don't have to be greedy and save up for 2 retirements. It's crouching at your door, right? Greed's crouching at your door.
Yeah.
So the balance in the early books of Genesis, where there's this holistic sense of this is your job, protect and serve this place, and there's a very personal challenge. Sin's crouching at your door.
Yeah.
Don't let it have you. You can't. Don't let it have you. You not only can, you must master.
Yeah.
That's God's expectation. That's
Yeah.
God's empowerment on it. We can defeat these demons in our own life. We can protect and guard this place from other people. That's the work of the church. That's the work that you guys are doing. So when you say you're fit to fight, I say amen. Like, do you know what you're saying when you say you're fit to fight? Do you know what you're saying when you say you're fit to fight? I think that's the right thing to say. I think that's Garden of Eden stuff to be saying we're fit to fight. And so kudos to you guys to be thinking and praying and reflecting on what all needs to be right in your own house as individual people and as a church, so that you can indeed be fit to fight. And may you carry out the most original mission we have to guard and protect this place from the ravaging work of the evil one. That you know the love of the Father, who says there's neither height nor depth, nothing can separate us from the love of the Father. And remember that as you live. Remember that you stay close to the one who is abundance of wisdom. So that's my prayer for you. Thanks for letting me share with you guys.